The fire crackled, its embers dancing like spirits in the dark. The children sat in a tight circle, their eyes wide, their faces glowing in the flickering light. Before them, seated on a carved wooden stool, was Baba Ose, the village elder. His face was lined with time, his voice deep and knowing. Tonight he would tell them the story of Esia, the girl who was taken but never truly left. He inhaled deeply as if summoning the spirits of the past, then spoke.
Many, many moons ago, before the world was as we know it now, there was a village near the great waters. The people lived in peace, tending their crops, fishing in the endless blue, and singing songs to the ancestors. Among them was a girl named Esia.
The children leaned in, listening intently.
Esia was 15, an orphan with no mother or father. Yet she was not alone. The village was her family, the river her companion. She was known for her voice, so sweet it could call the fish to the shore and make even the oldest grandmothers weep with its beauty. She carried water for the elders, danced during the harvest, and whispered secrets to the wind. But all of that changed on the night the drums stopped playing.
A hush fell over the circle. The fire crackled louder.
It was a night much like this one.
Baba Ose continued, his eyes dark with memory.
The village slept under a sky full of stars, the kind that guided travelers home. But that night, the stars did not bring home the lost. They watched in silence as shadows moved in the trees. The air smelled of salt, sweat, and something bitter. Fear.
He paused, letting the tension settle over his audience. The children barely breathed.
They came without warning. Strange men, pale like ghosts, with eyes that swallowed the moonlight. They carried metal that spit fire, ropes that bound like snakes. The warriors fought, but they were outnumbered. One by one, the people fell, taken, dragged toward the shore where a beast lay waiting. A ship as tall as the baobab tree, its belly wide enough to swallow 100 souls at once.
One of the younger children gasped. Baba Osi nodded.
Yes, my children, it was the night of chains. Esia, too, was taken. She fought. But who can fight against fate? The village, her home, vanished behind her as she was dragged to the water. There, they branded her like cattle, searing her skin with the mark of those who believed they owned her. They forced her into the ship, into the darkness, where the air was thick with suffering, where hope had no place.
A gust of wind rushed through the trees, as if the spirits themselves were listening. Baba Osi sighed.
That was the last time anyone saw Esia on the land of her birth. But children, let me tell you a secret.
He leaned forward, his voice sharply piercing.
Though she was taken, she never truly left.
The children shuddered. The fire flickered. The night listened.
They say, if you stand by the shore on certain nights, when the waves are restless and the wind hums a sorrowful tune, you will hear her song, low, haunting, calling for home. Some say she walks the waves, her spirit refusing to sink, her footprints dissolving with every step. Some say she waits for those who will remember her name, who will sing her song and finally bring her home.
Baba Osi fell silent, letting the story settle. Then he sat back, his eyes gleaming with something unreadable. The children sat frozen, the weight of the tale pressing upon them. Outside the circle, beyond the reach of the firelight, the ocean whispered against the shore. Somewhere, in the distance, a faint melody rose with the wind. The fire crackled lower, as if retreating from the weight of Baba Osi's words. The children, huddled close, exchanged glances filled with unease. But the elder did not stop. He shifted on his stool, his voice carrying the tale deeper into the unknown.
Esia was forced into the belly of the beast. The ship that swallowed her was unlike anything she had ever seen. Its wooden ribs groaned as though alive. its vastness stretching beyond reason. She was thrust below deck into a darkness thick with sorrow. The air was stale, heavy with the scent of sweat, sickness, and despair. She was not alone. Hundreds were crammed into the suffocating space, bodies pressed against one another, their only crime the color of their skin.
A few of the children gasped. Baba Osei nodded solemnly.
Days passed. The ship rocked, its wooden prison shifting with the waves. The only light came when the hatch was opened, when cruel eyes peered down, when food, if it could be called that, was thrown into the pit of suffering. Water was scarce, sickness spread like wildfire, and death became a silent companion.
The wind howled, rattling the trees. Baba Osei continued.
Esia did not cry. She did not scream. She listened. The waves had voices. She was sure of it. They whispered secrets, told stories of those who had come before. Some had leapt into the depths, choosing the embrace of the sea over the chains of men. Others had perished, their souls slipping between the planks, joining the ghosts of the deep. But Esia did neither. She watched. She waited.
The elder's voice dropped lower.
Then one night, something strange happened. The ship was silent except for the creaking of wood and the groans of the dying. Esia, barely awake, felt it first. A shift in the air, a presence unseen. A shadow moved along the walls, whispering in a voice older than time. It called her name.
The children stiffened. Baba Osei's gaze swept over them.
Some say it was a spirit, one of the lost, one who had perished before her. Others say it was the sea itself, reaching out, offering her a choice. But Esia only listened, her heart beating like a drum. Then the whisper faded, and the ship rocked violently. A storm had come.
The fire flickered, casting long, twisting shadows.
The ship groaned, the men above shouted, the heavens opened. Rain lashed against the wooden beast, lightning cracked the sky, and waves as high as mountains crashed down upon them. The ship fought, but the sea is patient, and it does not forgive.
He paused, his voice grave.
And in the heart of the storm, Esia made a decision, one that would change her fate, and ours forever.
The children held their breath, their eyes wide with anticipation. The elder leaned back, his face cast in flickering light. The fire crackled, the wind whispered, and somewhere, beyond the waves, the past waited to be told. Baba Osei continued.
The storm raged, a howling beast swallowing the ship in its jaws. Thunder cracked the heavens, waves crashed over the deck, and screams were lost to the wind. Amidst the chaos, Esia stood, unchained, her feet steady despite the violent rocking of the vessel. The whisper she had heard below deck had not been a dream. It had been a calling, and now the sea was waiting for her. She climbed to the deck, rain pelting her skin, the ship's mast groaning as if the gods themselves were tearing it apart. Sailors fought against the storm, their shouts drowned by the wind. Esia's heart pounded. The waves were speaking to her now, their voices rising over the storm. They sang of home. She stepped forward, past her captors, past the broken bodies, and then, without hesitation, she leapt. The sea embraced her, pulling her under, swallowing her whole. But Esia did not sink. She did not drown. She walked the waves, and when the storm cleared, the ship was gone. But some say, in the moonlight, a shadowy figure still moves across the water, always heading home. The wind howled along the shore, carrying with it a song older than memory itself. On nights like this, when the waves roared and the sky wept, fishermen swore they could hear a voice rising from the deep, a melody both sorrowful and beautiful. It was said that Esia's spirit did not rest, that she still walked the waves, singing the song of the lost. She had escaped the ship, but not the fate forced upon her. For the spirits of the stolen ones do not find peace until they are remembered. And so, her song drifted upon the waves, waiting for ears that would listen, waiting for voices that would join her in the hymn of the forgotten. One night, a young girl from the village, Casey, woke from a dream with Esia's song on her lips. It was a tune she had never heard before, yet she knew it as if it had always lived within her. She followed the call to the shore, where the waves whispered Esia's name. There, she sang the song aloud, her voice carrying into the night. And then, the ocean grew still. The villagers who heard her feared what they had long tried to forget. But the elder knew. He gathered the people, and together they sang. They sang for Esia, for the lost, for those who had never returned. And as their voices rose, so did the wind, carrying the melody far across the waters. That night, a fisherman swore he saw a figure in the distance, walking toward the horizon, her footprints vanishing in the foam. When he blinked, she was gone. But the waves, ever restless, whispered a single word: home.
Baba Ose paused, his eyes reflecting the firelight as he gazed at the eager faces before him. The story was not over, and the weight of its ending sat heavy on his tongue. He inhaled deeply, then spoke.
For years, Esia's song drifted upon the waves, carried by the winds that whispered through the palm trees, calling out for home. Some feared her presence, while others longed to understand her pain. But the spirits of the lost cannot rest until they are brought back, until the land that birthed them acknowledges their absence.
The children huddled closer, the crackling flames dancing against the deepening night.
One fateful night,
Baba Ose continued,
a traveler from a distant land, a man whose ancestors had been taken across the great waters, returned to the village. He had spent years seeking the truth of his bloodline, following whispers carried by the ocean. When he arrived at the shore, he felt it before he saw it. The air was thick with memory. The water is restless with waiting. And then, as he knelt in the sand, he heard it. A voice, soft yet commanding, humming through the night. Esia's song.
The children's eyes widened.
The traveler wept, for though he had never known her, he understood. Her spirit had been calling for those who had been lost, yearning to return them home. He did what no one before him had dared. He knelt, placed his hands on the earth, and sang with her. A gust of wind rushed through the trees, carrying the elder's words to unseen ears. The village awoke to the sound of the ocean rising, not in anger, but in longing. The elders gathered, their faces lined with realization. They had ignored the call for too long. That morning they prepared an offering. They gathered sacred water, blessed by the ancestors. They wove mats of palm leaves and prepared food in remembrance of the ones stolen away. At dawn, they walked to the shore and sang Esia's song, not in fear, but in welcome.
The fire crackled loudly, almost as if it too were listening.
And then the sea calmed, the wind softened, and as the last note of the song faded, a figure stood upon the waves, Esia. But this time she was not alone. Behind her were countless others, spirits of the stolen, faces from generations past. They had returned. They had found their way home.
The children gasped, their small hands clutching at their robes.
One by one, the spirits stepped onto the shore, their feet leaving no imprint in the sand. The traveler wept as Esia stood before him, her presence like a whisper upon the wind. He felt her near, not in body, but in the trembling of the earth beneath his knees, in the stillness of the air around him. "We remember," she whispered, her voice threading through the waves. "We are home."
Baba Osi's voice dropped lower.
And then, as the morning sun rose, Esia turned to the waves one final time. Her body shimmered, fading like mist beneath the golden light. And with her, the others vanished. Their song had been sung, their spirits finally free.
Silence settled over the children, the weight of the story pressing upon them. The fire burned low, its embers glowing like the last traces of a long-forgotten memory. Baba Ose exhaled slowly.
"And so, my children, we sing for them, for the lost, for the stolen, for Esia, because when we remember, they are never truly gone."
A soft breeze drifted in from the sea, carrying with it a faint, distant melody. Somewhere, beyond the horizon, the girl who walked the waves had finally found her way home.